Guacamole in the refrigerator. Okay.
Okay.
The cheese is in the refrigerator.
All right. Welcome to the show for anyone who is tuning in. I am with my good man, Jay McLovin. This is sorry. First things first. This is Father Time. This is the Father Time podcast with Mike Montez. I am your host and facilitator, Mike Montez. And like I said, I'm here with a good friend of mine, Jay McLovin. Jay, introduce yourself to the people.
As you can see, my boy, his name is Jay McLovin, and I'm an Astros fan. I'm going to plug that every time I get a chance because, hey, we're the Astros, like it or not. Anyway, hey, that was my little non-shameful plug. Hey, listen, I enjoy being here. Thank you, Mike, for having me. Lots of good, very in-depth conversations needed to be had about parenthood, fatherhood, your stories about, growing up with your pops, my, story growing up with my pops. I know we kind of both had different upbringings. So it really is going to be amazing to see, what comes out of this conversation. Yeah, glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for being here, man. Like you said, the show today, or the premise of the show, is to start the conversation that needs to be had. A lot of people don't really talk about relationships with their fathers in a positive way or a negative way in terms of how it affects them. They always blame their actions on their relationships with their fathers, but they don't actually speak on what about the relationship or lack thereof with their fathers, what their father did to them as a person, as a parent, as as a sibling, just in general. And that's the conversation we're going to have here on the show. We're going to have the real conversation that is long overdue. Um, Before we get the show started, I sent Jay a couple questions. You guys kind of know my story. I've uh, had a couple episodes where I've kind of spoke on my story. Definitely going to open up more about it. But I want to hear from my guest first. I'm going to hear from Jay. Um, what was it like for you? What was growing up like for you? Like, was your father there? Did you have a male figure in the household? If not, what were the pros and cons of that? Like, what just tell me about young Jay McLovin.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a father. I had a very dedicated father, also a very dedicated husband to my mom. Good morals, brought up in the church, all the things I think that a typical, I say typical meaning that I guess, two-parent Christian household. Let's put it that way. That's what I consider typical two-parent Christian household, because that's what I draw off of. So for me, that, and again, a lot of my friends and things like that, whatever, that's kind of typical. Dad, worked 4 days on, 4 days off, 12-hour days. So he was there when he was there, supported the family, did all the right things. A lot of my teachings that my dad gave me were very, I guess, teachings off the Bible. Like, for example, if I cried wolf, if I cried wolf, Dad would tell me the story about crying wolf, about how, and those types of things. Father on the mountain. I mean, Jesus loves me. I mean, just all those kinds of, I guess, early childhood things. I gotta remember, I grew up in the 70s. It's a little bit different time than it is now. But no, my dad was present. He disciplined me when I needed disciplining. He went to my football games. He was coach of my baseball team. All the things that what I think a father should do to spend time with your son, he did. And so, again, he was a very patient person, very soft-spoken person. But when Dad had something to say, the reflection, the firmness, the things that he needed to put on to get the point across, he had no problems in doing so. My dad always told me he loved me. Just gave me the security was willing to talk, to me about whatever I wanted to talk about. And then, so that was my dad. Like I said, a quiet, reserved guy, much different than I am. I think my personality kind of more derives off of the Kingsbury side, my mom's side. So I get my mom's personality, but I got my daddy's good looks. Definitely got the good facial hair, So he gave me that. I also got the McMahon hairline. So, with the good comes the bad. Not his fault. But no, typically I knew my grandparents, and on both sides of the family. Support system was there. The financial system was there. The concern on your grades was there. I'll give you a quick story, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. And I think this will tell you about my father and the way I was brought up in terms of respect and things like that for the adults and everything that incorporates. And as also his investment in my education, right? My dad, every first day of school. And this went from first grade to fifth grade. Now, he cut me some slack when I got to junior high and high school. He wasn't necessarily going to put me on blast like that. But I promise you, my dad made sure that I understood, hey, yo, Jay, I'm there for the first 5 grades. You understand the expectation. So when you get to junior high, I don't need to come there anymore. The expectation has been set. You know what I'm saying? Unless I have to go there. And if I have to go there, then we're going to have what he calls remedial training.
Oh, yeah. I know about the remedial.
But I will tell you, my dad, every first day, first grade, second grade, third grade, all the way to fifth, my dad walked me to school, talked to the teacher, pointed at me, and said, if you have any issues with him whatsoever, this is my phone number. You call me, you tell me the issue. I promise you it will be dealt with. And you will not have any more problems with this kid. He's here to learn. I want you to teach him. But if you have one issue with him, please make sure you call me. And that's just the way my dad was. He didn't make it a long speech. It was very short. He left the room. And I will tell you, there came a time when I stayed in constant contact with my first grade teacher. Even to this day, I still talk every now and then with my first grade teacher. We were very close. And my first grade teacher, Miss Goss, at that time, Miss Gill, Miss Goss told me one time in a private conversation, Jason, I will tell you this. Your dad put the fear in us that we were scared to call him if you acted up. So please, for the love of God, Jay, just don't act up. But, again, I will tell you this, and I know we're going to cover this a little bit more when we talk about, what did you take away from your adolescence, things like that. But I will tell you this. This is the way my dad disciplined me. If I did something wrong, my mom said, okay, you got to go talk to your dad. Now, again, like I told you, he's on 4 days on and off. And he typically worked nights, so he slept during the day. To go in there and wake up my father was like me going in there and putting my hand on a very well-lit stove. You got to be kidding me. And look, my dad slept with not a ceiling fan, but the box fans. They didn't have ceiling fans back, so they had box fans. My dad always had a box fan going. So I got to go into a very well-darkened room with a ceiling fan, with a box fan, and wake up my father, who's got to go to work within several hours of this. That's like crazy. That's like, I'd rather run away, go find a homeless shelter than go do this. That's my mode of thinking. But inevitably, I knocked on the door. I walked in. I kind of gently rubbed my father's shoulder so he didn't come up swinging, and said, Dad, there's an issue.
Oh, wow.
And then my dad would come out of bed. He would sit on the edge of the bed. He'd turn on the little desk lamp next to the little nightstand lamp. He'd turn the nightstand lamp on, and he said, boy, what did you do? And then I would proceed to tell my father what I did. And then my father, in a very, believe it or not, soft-spoken voice, never raised his voice, but a soft-spoken voice, would say, now, Jay, and then if it was lying, Jay, I've given you the crying wolf story. You understand what it means when you cry wolf. When you cry wolf, that means at some point people are going to stop believing in what you say. And if they stop believing in what you say, then you lose value in your word. And if you are ever in your point in your life where you have no money, all you have left in this life that they cannot take away from you unless you give it away is your word. So there's a very serious thing about lying, Jay. I love you. You know what you did was wrong. And please, going forward, let your word be your voice. Let your word be who you are. Now, I love you, but I need you to go pick out that double-pronged belt, the leather one. You know the one.
Oh, man.
So I would go to the closet, pick out my weapon of destruction, if you will. And then, hey, I took my licks. But I'm going to tell you, I promise you, after the belt was done, he sat me back down and he said, Jay, I do not like, giving you the belt. That's not what I'm here for. I mean, I give you the belt to reinforce in your brain that when you lie, there comes pain. And when there's pain, that means you're wrong. So don't put yourself in that situation. I love you. Learn from this. Think about it, and let's get on with our day. And that's typically, that's online. I mean, it could be anything, but that's typically how a disciplining session, went in my household. And I promise you, it was like that every time. There was consistency from the time I was born to even this very day right now. My dad still talks to me consistently the same exact way. And like I said, hey, you asked me how I was brought up. I feel like, I was brought up very well. And I'll get more into you about where I was. We'll talk more about the adolescent side of that and how I still rebelled because Jason wasn't smart. But in terms of the way I was brought up, I'm telling you, man, when I say platinum, it was platinum. I had a platinum upbringing.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean by platinum? I mean, like, you have all the things you need, where the only thing you could screw up, honestly, was yourself. Now, I'm not saying my dad was perfect or my mom was perfect, but I'm just saying they invested the time. They put forth the effort. They had love and care, and morals was always at the forefront, and bringing me and my sister both up.
Absolutely. I completely understand what you mean when you say that. I, on the other hand, had a very opposite upbringing, completely opposite. As I mean, if you've gone back and if you haven't, go back, watch the first couple episodes. My dad was in and out. He was in and out. There were times where he was there, and when he was there, he was there. But it was the times that he left that really hurt the most. That pretty much molded my non-trust in people. One thing that, and I believe it was either it may have been the first episode, maybe the second. I think it was the first. I think the first episode. Told a story about a video game and how I allowed the fact that my dad told me he would bring me a video game, and it never happened, to dictate how I ran my life when dealing with any male figure that was supposed to be like a father figure, a role model type of figure in my life. And it was up until the day that I literally recorded that episode that I didn't realize that I was doing that. Like I allowed a video game that I no longer know. I have no clue where it's at. I may have played it 10 times since when I got it, but I allowed that video game when I was like 5 or 6, maybe 7 at the most, to dictate my relationships with trusting people for 20 plus years. And a lot of it was just, it to me, it wasn't necessarily about the video game. It was more so about if you just like your father would teach you, lying, being your word, and your word being literally the only thing that you have that can't be taken away from you unless you give it away. For you to lie to someone you love, it made me question, like, does he actually love me? does he actually care for me? Now, granted, 10, 11, 12 years later, father came back in my life. He's been there more so consistently since then. But and I love him to death. He's, we're still building. We're definitely still building that relationship that I missed out on when I was younger. But when it comes to the thought of me growing up and wondering, does my dad actually love me? Like, when he's there, he's there. When he's not, am I even a forethought or even an afterthought in his mind? That hurt. That molded me the wrong way as a child, and not having him, because I was raised by my mother, aunt, and grandmother. It was my mother, aunt, grandmother, 6 kids, all in one house, 9 people. At one point, my uncle was there, but he was in and out. He was, I believe, he had a brain injury, which is why he moved back in. He had a brain injury from a car accident, and he was just like in and out. So it wasn't really like he was a male figure that I had in my life. But as far as growing up and being raised, my grandmother, aunt, and mother all raised me the best they could. And that absence of a male figure, male role model, father figure definitely had an impact on my life. I'm gonna take a break, take a second to do the what's ups, because I know I've flashed the comments on the screen. It's a good friend of ours, Big Phil Tross. What's up, man? Good to see you here. Glad you're here with us. The Facebook user is my wife. Actually, I'm not sure why it's not showing her information, but this is my wife. Hey, babe, glad you're here watching. Pride came through to watch the show with us. Hey, thanks for being here, man. Hey, I will be back on Unscripted. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be on there tonight, but I definitely will be back on. It was fun Tuesday when we were talking, and I'll definitely be back there. And honestly, the whole reason this show is going on, Gonzo, thank you so much for allowing us to use your platform to actually air this show. Thanks a lot. But I digress. I just had to throw those in there. I didn't want y'all to think that we were passing over you. But yeah.
Hey, Chris, or Mike, I'm sorry, I'm calling you Chris. You talked to, you had Gonzo on the screen. I had Chris in my mind. But if you don't mind, can I just give a short interjection there?
Yeah, certainly.
I have an aunt that I spent a lot of time with. My mother's sister, the Kingsbury side. She lost her daddy when she was 9. She lost her mom when she was, I believe, 18. So I mean, she lost some key figures there along the way as well. And then when she got married, she divorced her first husband because he was just, being faithful was a very big challenge for him. So he kind of went by the wayside. The second guy she brought in to their lives turned out to do the same thing. So he kind of went by the wayside. Now, the third guy that she has in there is a guy that actually is a stand-up guy. But I will say this, those kids, they turned out okay. They're making good, they educate, make them. But I know emotionally, not having that father figure there, I've seen it. I think that father figure gives you the baseline, for where you are in life, right? I mean, the mom, and again, the child's favorite parent or most influential parent is same sex. So if you're the daughter, you're gonna be closer to the mom. If you're the boy, you're gonna be closer to the dad. So not having that father in there, or even not having that mother in there, if you're the daughter, giving you those life lessons, giving you that baseline in which you operate off of, is crucial. And I will tell you this: you can be the most jacked up person in this life, but if you had a good baseline instilled in you, you always have that core, you always have that baseline of knowing right from wrong. Now, whether you choose to do right or wrong in your life, that's still free will. But I'm telling you, if you don't have a baseline in which to operate your life off of, then how do we it's very hard to hold that type of person accountable when they haven't been taught or given a baseline of morals or experiences or skill sets in which to operate off of. It's crazy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that actually kind of segued into our next question, which is, have you learned any advantages to having a male figure as opposed to not having a male figure? And you kind of alluded to that with with the story that you just told. And I'll just tell on my side of it. There are things that it took me a while to realize that the type of arrangement that I had was not abnormal, but it wasn't normal at the same time. If you kind of get what I'm saying,
Right.
knowing that your mom, aunt, and grandmother in the home is still a it's an okay thing, so to speak, but needing that father figure is very much so necessary, or even any type of male figure is so much more necessary than it is talked about, than thought of.
Yeah.
Having that father figure is not necessarily, I'm not going to say that it's the normal dynamic, but it is very much so it gives you more of an advantage having that mother and father household with having that love from both sides, both the tough love and the nature nurture love, and having that fear, so to speak. And it's not necessarily fear, more so of a respect of a father figure, um, to be that disciplinarian. Because don't get me wrong, mother, aunt, and grandmother all did the best that they could, and a lot of single mothers out here are doing the best that they can as far as disciplinarian is concerned. But it's just something about the father figure, the male figure, the male model, that when you have that type of um, we have that type of disciplinarian in the house, in the home, and it's not necessarily always a physical thing. Yeah, pain and repetition when they're younger, but then when you get older, and this is supposed to be your role model, this is supposed to be the guy you're striving to be, and the worst the worst discipline that I've ever gotten is hearing anyone say that they were disappointed in me for any reason whatsoever. And when that word disappointed gets thrown around, goodness, I'd rather take the belt. I'd rather ground me for a month. Like, don't as long as you don't tell me that I'm not doing what it is that I need to do to be more like you, I'll take whatever punishment it is. But once you tell me you're disappointed in me, it's like, God, Lee, like I'm sorry. Like that's when I really started to feel remorse, is when the disappointment words start getting thrown around. And honestly, that started to actually be thrown around more when I actually started letting father figures, or when my father came back and I started allowing male figures to kind of give me a model, a role model. I started kind of putting him on a role model type of a pedestal, so to speak. And just to hear that word, it was like, yeah, like that was hurtful. That was because I knew for me, the pain of the belt, the pain of the switch, the pain of the shoe, whatever the weapon of choice was, uh, that'll subside. But as long as someone's telling you, as long as someone has this feeling of disappointment in you, it's like, goodness, like that's one of those forever feelings that you truly have to prove yourself in order to get over that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. Like, same-sex parents. I don't know, same-sex, but what I'm saying is, the boy gravitates to the father, the daughter gravitates to the mother. And when you don't have that father to gravitate, that teaches you how to be a man, it gives you the skill sets to be the leader and things like that. And not that mothers can't do it, and I don't want people to take that the wrong way, but just like I can't tell my daughter what going through the menstruation cycle is going to be like.
Right.
A mother can't tell a son, what it is to be a good man. I mean, they could give her the idea, hey, don't hit women. Okay, that's a fundamentalistic fact, but they can't tell them what it means to be the leader of the household, what that entails, how that entails, how you should do it, how you should go about doing it.
Right.
And again, if you're a Christian, one of the things they tell you is the man is the head of the household. Not that the women don't have input, because let me tell you something, when you get married, you're going to combine your ideologies, but still the man is still the leader of the household. He still makes sure, hey, is a family in church? Is a wife in church? Is she getting fed? Is she, all those little things? Are my children, are they learning what they're supposed to be learning? The father is still that gravitational force, that keeps it together. And the mother is the one that provides the nurturing aspects to the children. Does that make sense? That's why, even if you get divorced, make sure you learn how to co-parent. That way, when you have a good co-parency, the son or the daughter is getting that masculine leadership.
Right.
But they're also getting the nurturing, loving leadership from the mother. And it takes two parents to really effectively raise that child, because each parent brings something to the table that child needs. Not that a single parent can't get the job done, but it really enhances the chances for that child to have both parents.
Absolutely. And I'm just gonna emphasize, single parents can do it. It's a hell of a lot harder for a single parent to do it, though. It is way more difficult.
Absolutely.
Without having both the mother and the father. You need the disciplinary and the nurturing side. You can't. It's and I try to tell my wife this all the time. Having that mother trying to be both disciplinary and nurturing, I'm trying to say this without pissing a lot of people off, but hey, this is a real show. We're gonna do it. So it kind of that's where children start to take advantage. Kids start to take advantage of mom, because mom says she's gonna be a disciplinary about this, but she still loves me, so she's not really gonna do me that bad. Like, mom is doing it on her own, so she'll take my tablet for a couple minutes, but I'll just stay in her face, and while she's trying to get work done, she can't get that work done. She needs a reason to
classic manipulation. That's baby.
She needs a reason to, she needs me out of her way. Okay, I got my tablet back. Hey,
you're not lying, Mike. Hey, I'm gonna tell you right now. Hey, listen, like I told you, man. Listen, I was a very, very challenging child to bring up, to the point where I will tell you, Mike, I prayed that I never got a child in my life that was like me. Mike, I'm going to get into this when we get to a later topic, but I got a child that was me times 10. Times 10, Mike. Hey. And what I mean by that is I learned early on that dad can't be manipulated. Oh, hell no. Dad is, watch this. Dad is straight as an arrow. Nothing you can do to change that. So what does Jay do? Jay going to play the hell out of mom. No. What I'm saying is, I know that my mother has got a heart of gold, and she's a softie, and I can just, do my thing.
Absolutely.
And what I'm saying is a lot of, and man, that's where both parents really got to be.
Yeah.
Synonymous with each other, because if you're not synonymous with each other, that child, like I was, can really tear apart a family if you're not careful.
Right.
And like I said, I had a platinum parenthood, but I know one of the bad things was that my mom and my dad, they weren't on the same page with how to deal with me. And I think that really created a huge challenge for them. And I'm off my soapbox, but if you ever have a kid out there that's like that, be synonymous. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, no. So me and my wife always we this is a big topic of discussion in this household. I promise you. It's like, and it's like I can't.
But I'm telling you, man,
I can't be mad at her. It's like I cannot be mad at her. Babe, I love you. I'm not saying you're a pushover. I'm not saying that. That is not what I am saying. What I am saying is, I work. She works from home. There's a lot, and thank God that both of them are starting school on Tuesday, because now
raise a hand.
Now she has time to work and no kids to deal with. Thank you, God. But when during the summer, like last school year, when the youngest one was still was not in school yet, I would come home and there were certain things like we were trying to set in motion. Like even during the summer, we were trying to set in motion, like we're only going to do tablets from this time to this time. Well, I'm at work. She's here trying to work from home. They are in her face the entire time. There's like we got TVs, they got toys all in their room, and they got the tablets. Toys ain't doing it for them. Toys ain't doing it for them. So she's trying to get some work done, and she turns a show on for them. Well, with Disney Plus, there are certain shows where they'll just autoplay for them. But then there's other shows where you have to press play every time the episode turns off. You got to start the next episode. They always want the shows. They always want the shows where you have to press play every single time the show goes off. So that wasn't doing it for them. They got Disney Plus on their tablets. They got games on their tablets. It's so much easier for her to say, hey, just go get your tablet, as long as they're charged, because that's a whole nother problem. We're going to talk about that one later.
So you said the biggest problem that she was having, or one of the biggest problems, if I understand you right, one of the biggest problems that she was having was that when they were on Disney Plus, they had to press play. So in order for them to watch the next episode, they had to go tell mom to press play for the next episode, which was taking time away from what mom needed to do. So, listen, I don't know a lot. I'm old as dirt, but I do know that these kids can figure out smartphones.
They can.
Hey, watch it. My point is this. At what point does the wife or you, whoever, take them aside, take them to Disney Plus, teach them what button to push to hit play, and get your life back?
Well, here's the thing. That's what she did.
Okay.
Listen. Instead of doing it on the TV, she did it on the tablet, because they got Disney Plus. She needs her phone for work. She can't just take the phone, go do your thing. Yeah. She needs her phone for work. So instead of taking the time to teach them, you here, do this, press play, and do that, she just go get your tablet. They know how to work them things inside out, upside down, left, right. As long as when it comes to that tablet, they know everything they need to know about them tablets. But yeah, so that was her way of, and like I said, I'm not saying she's pushover, but that was what she had to do in order to get work done. She had to say, yeah, we have this plan set. And I used to always ask her, like, babe, what's going on? I thought we weren't doing tablets until I came home, we ate dinner, they had an hour and a half on the tablet before they went to bed, all that. But she had to let me know, babe, you're not here with them all day. You're at work all day. I work from home. That means they can't be in my face all day. But like I said, thank God that they both start school on Tuesday.
But you know what, though, Mike? That could be I understand the whole idea of the tablet being I guess people want to. I'm like, look, this is a digital age. I look at it like this: give them a damn, and this is me, Mike. This is my opinion, but give them a tablet and make sure that the things that are on their tablet or the things that they're viewing are educationally based. Yeah. Because I'm telling you, if you get your kids involved in educational based testing off those tablets, learn their alphabet, learn their numbers, learn their sounds, things like that. By the time they get to first grade or kindergarten, they are going to be much better off. And video games, tablets is a great way to engage education.
Absolutely.
My wife and my sister, they're both first grade teachers. And so I'm just kind of, and I kind of hear what their thought process is, with the kids that are coming into school these days. And I'm just saying it's a great way. Look, if they're gonna be on a tablet, they better be learning something.
Right. And that is so true. My youngest, 3 years old, he can come up to you and tell you literally my favorite color, my wife's favorite color, both of them, his older brother's favorite color, and his older sister's favorite color. And I didn't even know the boy knew the colors. 3 years old, didn't even know he knew the colors. But it's from those tablets and the things that they have on their tablets being educational, and the shows that they're watching, they have what was it? What is it? ABC, like the oldest had ABC Mouse on his tablet at one point. There's like an Amazon Kids thing.
Like Clues. They got Bob the Builder. I mean, these are just some things. I can't tell you all of it because I haven't had a small enough child forever. But I know that there's a lot. There's a lot out there, and I think one of the biggest problems, Mike, with parenting, and especially like I said, where it comes in having that father figure to enforce it. I will tell you, my wife will tell you she cries literally every damn day because there's children coming into the school system, the kindergarten, pre-K, first grade, that their parents don't, number one, spend time with them to get them educationally on point, so that when they're in class, they're, number one, they're right there where they're supposed to be. They're learning the things they're supposed to be, so forth. Or they don't have the discipline. They don't have that discipline at home, so that when they get to these classrooms, they're absolutely off the chain.
Absolutely.
And again, that's where being a good father, in my opinion, is number one, make sure you invest time in your child educationally. Make sure you invest time in your child disciplinarily to keep them on point. So when they start that kindergarten, now look, they're going to be fallible. We're not saying you got to have robots in these classrooms, but you want to have a system set up in your child so that when they start kindergarten, it is armed, it is ready to begin that process.
Right.
Does that make sense? Because I see a lot of that aren't.
Oh yeah, no. Definitely makes sense. I'm gonna take time out to answer this question real quick. Do you guys agree that differences in discipline come from our mindset as women's intuition to nurture? Absolutely. I 100% agree with that, Jaleesa. Jaleesa is one of my sisters up here. We met at the church that we go to. Glad you're here. Thank you for coming in and supporting us. But yes, I 100% agree with that, because no mother wants to see their child hurting for anything. No, and that's not to say that the father does. I'm just gonna say, I'm speaking for myself. I personally feel like a child can take more than a mother likes to think they can. Like, so for instance, I'll take it back to my household. I'll take it back to my wife. My son, the youngest one, will whine and cry about whatever it is that he wants, and he wants it when he wants it. And yes, she understands that. Yeah, he can wait. Whatever it is, he can wait. But there's something in her, and I'm gonna go with it, that with it being the women's intuition and the women's intuition to nurture. Anytime he wails or cries or squeaks, or just, there's something in her that it's in pain. She physically gets pain from hearing him cry, and that comes from that woman's intuition to nurture. So with that being said, she doesn't want to see her child in pain, because it physically causes her pain. It truly physically causes her pain. And that's where their disciplinary acting comes from. It comes from the fact of, we're going to discipline you, but we're also going to nurture you at the same time. You're going to learn, you're going to know that what you're doing is wrong, but we also don't want to be in pain when it comes to watching you be in pain. If that makes sense.
If I could piggyback off what you're saying, and especially to what the question is being directed towards, it goes back to what I said at the more towards the beginning of the show, where the mother and the father have to be synonymous.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by synonymous is, and I hate to say it, but hey, fathers, you're gonna have to take on the bad cop role, and mom, you're gonna have to take on the good cop role.
Absolutely.
To be effective. Now, what does that mean? In my opinion, just my opinion, but what that means in my opinion is the husband is firm, loving, and instills the standard and the discipline that goes along to enforce the standard of the way that child should be brought up. Where it's critical for the mother is the mother also has to be firm, but also reinforcing in the child what it just went through in the disciplinary process, but giving it the love, because you can be firm and loving at the same time. And so it's getting basically taught from the father, reinforced and loved from the mother. And I think when the two of you join forces and that style of disciplining your kids, I'm not going to say they're going to be perfect, but that kid is going to have a baseline of what love, firmness, morals, and all that stuff looks like, because the mother and the father are working together as a team to raise that kid.
Absolutely. And when it comes to the fact of the mother being that loving, being that more, I'm not going to say more loving parent, but showing more of the it kind of, I'm gonna go back to what you something you said earlier about how your father goes in and he disciplines you,
right?
And then right after he disciplines you, he sits you down and lets you know, hey, I don't enjoy doing this, but I need to let you know that pain, your actions have consequences.
Absolutely.
For these consequences, you get pain. Pain is not good. It kind of teaches you not to do these things. And when and I bring that up to say, yeah, the father can do that, but then the mother is the one that kind of goes more in depth on the loving aspect of it, because the father's being stern. The father is letting you know, hey, you messed up. You can't do that. You do that, you get consequences. Consequences aren't always the best. The consequences physically hurt, emotionally hurt, and then the mother comes in and kind of swoops in and brings it all together and lets them know, hey, babe, we still love you. You just got to understand that there's certain things that you just cannot do because they don't just affect you. We're teaching you lessons now in the terms of affecting how you are right now, so that you will know that when it comes time for you to grow up, get away from us, and live your life as an adult, these actions that you're taking right now don't just affect you, they affect others. And
amen, that's exactly
and
right.
allowing you to continue to keep on with these actions is, one, it shows bad parenting on us. And you're a good kid. You just if without that structural parenting, without that path to lead you down, you being a good kid is just that. You can say it all day. Your actions don't match up, and with your actions not matching up, that kind of puts you in the spot of crying wolf. Hey, I'm a good kid. I'm a good kid. I'm a good kid. But yet you're pulling a girl's hair on the playground. I'm a good kid. I'm a good kid. I'm a good kid. Yet you're taking drugs to school. I'm a good kid. Yet you stealing money and stealing cars, and you end up in the situations you end up in because we're allowing you to just run rampant as a child. not really giving you consequences and teaching you, not just giving you the consequences, because it takes more than just giving the consequences, because giving the consequences do nothing but harden your heart. You got to have the mother to come in to soften it back up, to let them know, hey, we're not just doing this because we want to. We're not just doing this because you messed up. We're teaching you what it means to mess up, and the consequences get more severe the older you get.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that, man. And again, I think out of all of that, once you as parents, realize, okay, this is what we're gonna do and how we're gonna do it. Once you get that plan, then the other thing that you have to make sure of is that you're consistent with everything you do that supports that plan. Consistency is the biggest thing. And I'm not one to quote Dr. Phil. I'm not. But I love Dr. Phil. Hey, the guy's got great advice. I don't want people think I don't support Dr. Phil. I watch Dr. Phil a lot. If you don't know this out there, I watch Dr. Phil. It's on my recording because that I mean he has a lot of good information. And I will tell you this: the biggest thing that I took away from Dr. Phil was where he says you write on the slate that they are. So what I'm saying is no child is born any kind of way.
Absolutely.
They're born sterile.
Mm-hmm.
Sterile. That child is born sterile. And from the moment that he takes his first breath to the moment that he sits in your arms, everything from that moment until the end of time, you influence how that child is going to outcome.
Absolutely.
What I mean by that is now that child can, naturally learn defiance like I did.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing you can do about that. There really isn't. Some children like me, learn from life experience.
Right. And it's
hold on, but here's the deal. We learn from life experience, but, and this is where it's critical when I say you write on the slate of who they are. When you initiate that initial baseline in them, when you give them that standard for which, they should operate from, when life punches them in the face, the first thing they go back to is that baseline which mom and dad gave them. Mm-hmm. And that can get them on the right path. But if they don't have a baseline to operate from when they're punched in the face because they are operating on their own free will, mm-hmm. that's where the issue comes into play.
Absolutely. It kind of takes me back to the whole, I'm gonna go biblical on you one time. You train up a child in the way it should go. When it is old, it will not depart from it. Those little nuggets that you plant as while they're children, they don't go away. Yeah, prodigal son. We'll take the story of the prodigal son. He went off, he sold his wild oats, he did his partying, he did his drinking, he did his drugs. But when he came back home, and he took his part of the father's inheritance, and when he came back home, he was embraced wholeheartedly because he had come home. He went out, he did his stuff in the world, and he understood the world was not for him. He understood that that's not the life that he wanted. It's not the path that he was supposed to choose. And so when he came back, he was celebrated. And I say all of this to say, we're on our children. And my wife tells me this all the time. You have to watch what you say when it comes to whatever you're saying to the kids, because they remember everything. It's the simplest, the simplest of things. I used to have a big problem with. Now my oldest son is 7, and let's be honest, he does a lot of dumb stuff. And when I say he does a lot of dumb stuff, the kid does a lot of dumb stuff. And I had to learn I can't keep necessarily speaking on that in a negative way, because all I'm reinforcing in his mind is he's dumb, he's stupid, there's things that he's doing that's dumb and stupid. And I know as an adult I know as an adult that what I'm saying, I know what I'm saying. I know what I mean by what I'm saying. Like, you're not stupid. Your actions are stupid. But as a kid, they're not comprehending all of that. They're just thinking, "Oh, dad's calling me stupid. Dad's calling me dumb." Like that's all they're hearing. And so when they get to that adulthood, and they get to that point of, hey, it's time for me to go at it alone, and they get presented with a problem, they automatically go back to what dad said.
Right.
It's like, no, I can't do that. I'm stupid. Or that was dumb. That was dumb of me to do. Why would I do that? Like that just reinforces the fact that my dad was calling me dumb all my life. Like, they hold on to that. And it took me and my wife have been married 3 years, 3.5, almost 4 years, or almost 3.5 years. It took me 2.5 of those 3.5 years for me to realize that I can't just keep saying certain things like that. But that's all because I didn't have my father teaching me that. I was hearing, I had the world teaching me. I had my peers teaching me. I had, negativity from my friends. I had negativity from teachers. I had negativity from just people out in the world saying, hey, telling me I'm doing dumb stuff, telling me I'm a stupid kid, like stay in my place, like certain things, things that you growing up in the 90s, early 2000s, you hear, things that you can't say now, or hurt feelings reports and everything, and calling CPS because it hurt my feelings and all that good stuff. Just joking. I'm not talking about parents nowadays or kids nowadays. I'm just joking. But yeah, like there's certain things that I would hold on to, and it's like I didn't realize that was molding my mind and sticking with me. And so when I got to the points where I was raising my kids, I just thought it was tough love. There's a such thing as tough love, and then there's such thing as implanting the wrong ideas in your kid's head. And that's what I was doing for years, 2.5 years, implanting the wrong ideas in my kid's head.
I'm glad you said that, because and again, Mike, hey, you can only teach what you know. So it's nothing against what you did, because you can only teach what you know. And again, that's why it's important for fathers nowadays, and I hope people listen to me when I say this, is instill that baseline in your kids, because when you do that, you're affecting generations. You're not just affecting your son, you're affecting your son, the grandson, and the son after, because if you don't have that to teach, how are they supposed to teach?
Right.
And again, tough love is a great thing. Tough love is perfect when you have that baseline established. But if you don't have a good baseline, right from wrong, left from right, up from down, if your child does not have a moral compass to operate from, then how is tough love ever going to help him?
Absolutely.
I just throw it into the damn wall.
Right. Yeah, and this has been some great conversation. We're gonna cut this short. We're going to save some for later. We can't give you everything all at once. So we definitely will have Jay McLovin back. And every episode you may see someone new, because this is, like I said, this is the conversation that needs to be had. We need to have these conversations so that people understand that we know that there is something different about having a father and not having a father. There's differences to being raised and having a male figure to teach you certain things, and or lack thereof. But we're gonna cut this show. We're gonna cut this show right here. Jay, like I said, once again, thank you for coming on the show. If you don't know, Jay is the facilitator, host of another show that will be on a up and coming network. Unscripted is the name of the show, and we'll tell you a little bit more about the other stuff later on down the line. But definitely take a chance to follow that show. It's a unscripted. It's a podcast about sports. It actually airs today at
It does 8:00, 8
8 o'clock
Eastern.
tonight.
Mike, you better have me back on, because the part of the show that I want to get to that we didn't get to today, but the part that I wanted the show to get to is, again, I told you earlier in the show that I had a platinum childhood. I really did.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that I was not really given as a child or even as a young man at 17 was life after graduation of high school. And what do you do about your finances and everything afterwards? So again, hey, I want to come on for that segment because I'm telling you, whoo, is it gonna be a doozy?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna have you back. Jay, this is a lifelong show. Like you're always welcome. Just as you've already extended the offer for me to always be on Unscripted. I'm not gonna make it on there tonight, but I definitely will be back on. Hey, I'd just like to thank everybody who came out and spent some time with us, spent this hour with us, talking about life in general and learning about different aspects of fatherhood and parenthood, and what it's like to not have a father as opposed to what it is to have one, and just the different ways that we all, what was that say?
No, I just wanted as a parting, I don't know if it can get it on there. If I basically where this thing it says leave a legacy.
Oh, okay. I like it.
I just wanted to say that for fathers out there. I wear this a lot to remind myself, hey, your children are your legacy. Leave a legacy.
Absolutely. Hey, like I said, y'all, this has been Father Time with Mike Montez. And thank you once again, Jay McLovin, for blessing us with your time. We will definitely dive deeper into conversation next week. And yes, we will be back next week, 6 o'clock on Saturday. I'm going to try to make this a reoccurring thing. I may have to change the time up. But as for right now, lock it in, 6 o'clock next Saturday. We will be back here. Thanks for showing up and spending time with us. And we will see you all next time.